Welcome to the next episode of the Gallic War. The first year of the Gallic War was over. The Romans were able to celebrate 3 major victories in 58 BC. The legions were then sent into winter camp to rest and wait for the next year of war. Meanwhile, Caesar fulfilled his duties as governor. As Caesar carried out his administrative duties in Gaul over the winter, he heard rumors that the Belgae were conspiring against the Roman people. His right-hand man, Titus Labienus, who was in charge of the winter camp, also reported this to him by letter. But why would there be a conspiracy? Caesar had had nothing to do with the Belgae so far. He was given the following reasons. Firstly, there was a fear that after the pacification of Gaul, the Romans would choose Belgica as their next target. Secondly, they were incited by other Gallic tribes from outside to take military action against Rome. Thirdly, some of the most powerful among the Belgae were striving for more power. After all, many Gallic princes secretly hoped to become kings at some point. Caesar then raised 2 legions in Gallia Transalpina and sent them to the legate Quintus Pedius at the beginning of the summer of 57 BC, so that he could lead them into the interior of Gaul. He followed them with some delay. He gave the Senones and the other border neighbors of the Belgae the order to scout out the Belgae and inform him of all their activities. They unanimously reported that an army was forming, which is why Caesar had to act as quickly as possible. The Roman troops marched for 2 weeks until they reached the territory of the Belgae. The Remi, who lived closest to the Gauls, sent him envoys, namely Itius and Andicumborius, the first of their people. The Remi submitted completely to the Romans and assured him that they had made no common cause with the other Belgae. They offered to provide hostages and supply the troops. They also reported that the other Belgae would take up arms and even conspired with Germanic tribes with whom they had long been enemies. The passion for war was so great that not even the Suessiones, their brothers and blood relatives, could stop them from joining in the conspiracy. Caesar then inquired about the enemy nations and their fighting strength. He received the following answer. Most of the Belgians were descended from the Germanic tribes. They had crossed the Rhine in ancient times and had settled here because of the fertility of the land, driving out most of the settled Gauls. The Germanic tribes had been able to successfully fend off the Teutones and Cimbrians in the time of their fathers and had thus gained great self-confidence in their military abilities. The largest number of warriors were the Bellovaci, who were highly respected for their bravery. According to them, there were around 100,000 armed men, 60,000 of whom were chosen. In return, they hoped for supreme command in the war, which they did not receive. The Suessiones, the border neighbors of the Remi, possessed the largest and most fertile lands. Their former king, Diviciacus, please don't confuse him with the previously mentioned S2E1 Diviciacus, was once the most powerful man in Gallia. But in the meantime, Galba ruled there, who was entrusted with the supreme leadership due to his justice and wisdom. They promised 50,000 armed men, as did the Nervii, who were considered the most ferocious. The Atrebates provided 15,000, the Ambiani 10,000, the Morini 25,000, the Menapii 7,000, the Coleti 10,000, the Veliocasses and Viromandui the same number, the Atuatuci 19,000. The Condrusi, Eburones, Kerosi, Paemani, who Caesar called Germani Cisrenani, provided around 40,000 men. Germani Cisrenani can be translated as left bank Germani, referring to the west side of the Rhine. If the figures are to be believed, then the Romans faced a force of around 300,000 men. What was Caesar to do? Could the Romans prevail against such a large force? Find it out. See you next time, your geek philosopher.